Hey, it's Yay for Yarn, and today I'm going to show you how to crochet the driftwood tee. So the first thing you'll need for this project is the free written pattern, which you can get by clicking the first link in the description box down below, or you can grab the ad-free printable PDF version by clicking the second link in the description box below. So obviously the most important part of any project is the yarn, and for this tee I am using Lion Brand ZZ Twist, which is, I think, a rather unique yarn. You can substitute if you want, but this is a number 4 worsted weight yarn, so if you decide to use a different yarn, it needs to be number 4 worsted weight. And I have 3 skeins of this here, but I have more that's not on the table right now. But this is the taupe colorway, and this is an acrylic yarn, but it is spun differently than most yarns. So most yarns have an S twist. So most normal yarns would be twisted in the direction of an S, whereas this one is twisted in the direction of a Z. And that helps the yarn not come untwisted while you're working with it, particularly for crocheters. And this is one of the smoothest, drapiest, most fuzz-free acrylic yarns that I know of. So I'm going to be using this for this particular project because I feel this will be a very nice breathable yarn for summertime because it has no fuzz to it whatsoever. So of course the amount of yarn that you're going to need for the size you want to make will be listed in the written pattern, so you can go and check that to see how much yarn you'll need for whatever size you're making. Now this pattern comes in 9 different sizes, from a women's extra small to a 5X. And I'm going to be making the extra small in this video, but all of the numbers and instructions and stitch counts and everything you need to know to make all the other sizes are included in the written pattern. So once you've selected your yarn, you're going to need a few other things to make this project. You're going to need a crochet hook, and this is a size J or 6mm crochet hook. This is my Furls Odyssey Turquoise, and this is what I'm going to be using for this project. But as always, use the hook that gives you the correct gauge for the project. It doesn't matter if you use the same size hook that I used, as long as you get the same gauge. And that's what will help make sure that your shirt comes out the right size. So for more info on gauge, I do have a video on that on my channel. You can go and check that out if you want to learn more about gauge. But I've got my size J or 6mm crochet hook. You'll also need a measuring tape, some scissors, a yarn needle or blunt tapestry needle for weaving in your ends, and a locking or split ring stitch marker. Now this is actually a requirement. You can use something like a safety pin or a bobby pin, a hairpin, or whatever if you don't have a stitch marker like this. But you need a stitch marker that can open and close. And this is because we're going to be using a particular stitch for the beginning and end of the round that requires a stitch marker to hold the stitch securely until we are ready to join into the top of it at the end of the round. Alright, so now that I have all my supplies, let's get started with the tee. Alright, so this tee is worked from the top down, which means we're going to start around the neckline and we're going to work in the round. And this is a raglan style tee. So we're basically going to start by working in the round, and we're going to make a big square, fold it in half, and then from the sides we're going to make sleeves, and then from the 2 bottom edges we're going to continue that on and make the body. So we're going to start at the top around the neckline, and we're going to start with a row of foundation single crochet instead of a foundation chain. Now in the free pattern, the option is included to use a regular foundation chain and a row of single crochet. But I highly recommend that you use the foundation single crochet to start this project because it does make the neckline edge much stretchier. And that stretchy neckline will make it even more comfortable to wear. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by chaining 2. And if you're not familiar with the foundation stitches, I have an entire video on the different foundation stitches if you want to go check that out, link in the description box down below. But the foundation single crochet creates the equivalent of a foundation chain and a row of single crochet at the same time. It just does it in a different way, and it creates a much stretchier finished edge. So I've got my chain 2 right here. I'm going to skip this first one, insert my hook into the second chain, yarn over, pull up 1 loop. Then I'm going to yarn over, pull through 1 loop, which makes the chain, and then yarn over, pull through 2 loops, which makes the single crochet. So that's the very first stitch. And now what I'm going to do is kind of turn this. This is the top right here. I'm going to turn it upside down so that you can see the base of the previous stitch. And I'm going to insert my hook into both strands of the base of that previous stitch. Yarn over, pull up 1 loop. Yarn over, pull through 1 loop. That makes the chain part. And yarn over, pull through 2 loops to make the single crochet. So again, here's the top edge. I'm going to come to the bottom, insert my hook into both strands of the base of the previous stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1 loop, and yarn over, pull through 2 loops. Alright, so that's how we're going to work our foundation single crochet. If you want to see that in more detail, go check out my other video on the foundation stitches. But for this project, we are going to work a total of 80 foundation single crochet. So I'm going to continue working foundation single crochet like so, and you can see how stretchy that is, until I have a total of 80 stitches, not including the chain from the beginning of the row. Alright, so you can see that I have finished my row of foundation single crochet, and it is nice and stretchy. And now what we're going to do is we're going to join this so that we can work in the round, because this T is worked in the round. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of spread this out and lay it flat so that it is not twisted. And then while it is flat, I'm just going to bring the other end of it up around so that we're kind of making a big circle, but it's not twisted and the foundation row is laying flat. So now what I'm going to do is pick that up, and we're going to join with what I like to call the invisible slip stitch. Now the invisible slip stitch is the key component to my invisible join method, which makes the seam, when you work in the round and you normally start with a chain and you go around and then you join in the top of the chain, it makes that seam invisible because we're eliminating the turning chain and the slip stitch. But we're not working in a spiral, we're still working in individual rounds. So to work the invisible slip stitch, I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook and let go of it. And then I'm going to come over here to this first stitch in my foundation single crochet row, and I'm going to take my hook, insert the tip of my hook into the top of that stitch from back to front. Then I'm going to grab this little loop and put it over the tip of my hook and pull that loop through from front to back. So that is the invisible slip stitch. And if you want, you can just tighten that loop back down to kind of snug it up to the hook. So that is the end of round 1. And of course you can replace that with the instructions for a foundation chain and a regular row of single crochet if you want. But again, I highly recommend the stretch of the foundation single crochet for this. So now we're going to move on to round 2. And we're going to turn first of all. And another component of the invisible join method is the chainless starting stitches. And chainless starting stitches are a technique that we can use to get up to the height we need for the next round, but it does not look like a starting chain or a turning chain. It looks like a regular stitch. So for the chainless starting double crochet, I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook until it's about the height of a regular double crochet. And then I'm going to put my index finger on the back of my hook just to kind of step on that loop and hold it still while I work the rest of the stitch. So I'm going to essentially yarn over with this stretched out loop right here by bringing the hook tip down towards me and then back up away from me. So you can see that I've kind of made a yarn over with that stretched out loop. I'm going to insert my hook into the next stitch, which is the stitch my yarn is coming from. I'm going to yarn over, pull up 1 loop, yarn over, pull through the first loop and that yarn over from the stretched out loop. And then I can yarn over and pull through the last 2 loops. And this looks like a double crochet, but it performs the function of a turning chain. So I do have an entire video, actually I have several videos on the invisible join method. If you want to learn more about the chainless starting stitches and the invisible slip stitch, I will link that video in the description box down below. But for now, let's move on with round 2. So now that we have our chainless starting double crochet, I'm going to work a regular double crochet in the next 9 stitches. Alright, and now what we're going to do is we're going to create the corner of our square. We're going to be making this circle into a square to create the raglan shaping for our T. And raglan shaping is not that difficult. If you've ever made like a granny square and put extra stitches into the corner, then that's essentially what we're going to be doing here. So to make this corner in the next stitch, we're going to work all in one stitch, 2 double crochet, a chain 1 and 2 more double crochet, and that is going to turn the corner like so. So now we're going to double crochet in the next 19 stitches. Alright, and in that next stitch we're going to work the corner again. We're going to work all in this one stitch, 2 double crochet, chain 1 and 2 more double crochet. So I'm going to repeat that little sequence where we double crochet in the next 19 stitches and then work 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in the corner 2 more times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you how we finish the round. Alright, so you can see we have 4 corners to our square now. And now what we're going to do is double crochet in the remaining 9 stitches. Alright, and now we're back to the beginning, and what we're going to do is we're going to join into the top of this chainless starting double crochet with our invisible slip stitch. So I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook and let go of it, insert my hook into the top of the chainless starting double crochet from the beginning of the round, grab that loop and bring it over, and pull it through from front to back. So when we kind of tighten that back down, you can see how we don't have any kind of visible starting chain or slip stitch in this round. Alright, so now we can move on to round 3, and for round 3 we're going to turn the work, and we're going to begin with a chainless starting single crochet. And a chainless starting single crochet just means we're going to stretch the loop on the hook a little bit and work a single crochet in the next stitch. So that's the first stitch of our round. Now we're going to single crochet in each stitch across to the next corner chain space. So that is where we had a chain in between the pairs of 2 double crochet at the corner of our square. Alright, there's the top of that last double crochet. Here's the chain space. In that chain space, we're going to work single crochet, chain 1, and another single crochet. So we're going to continue adding stitches at the corner on every round. So I'm going to repeat that again, where we just single crochet across to the next corner chain space, and then put a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in this corner. Then we're going to single crochet across to the next chain space, single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in this one. Then we're going to do it again by single crocheting across and doing that same little set of instructions in this corner, and then we're just going to single crochet to the end of the round, and then we'll join. Alright, so you can see it looks like we are back around, but I just wanted to show you right when we get back to the end of the round, this right here is our chainless starting single crochet. But we want to make sure that we work into that last stitch of the round, which is a little bit less visible when you work a chainless starting stitch at the beginning. So if I tug on the top of my chainless starting single crochet, you can see that where that yarn comes from, it's coming out of this stitch right here, which I haven't worked into yet. So you want to make sure that you're always working into the last stitch of the round, even though it looks like it has the beginning of the top of a stitch coming out of it. We're going to work into that anyway because that is our last stitch, and if we don't work into that stitch, then we're going to lose a stitch. So now that we're all the way around, we can invisible slip stitch in the top of the chainless starting single crochet. Alright, And now we're going to move on to the next round, which is round 4. Now for round 4, we are not going to turn the work to begin the next round. We're going to work in the same direction as the last round. And for this round, we're going to need that stitch marker. And the purpose of the stitch marker is not to mark the end of the round, but the purpose of the stitch marker is to hold our chainless starting half double crochet in place while we work the rest of the round, because with the chainless starting half double crochet, it can come untwisted, and then you have to go back and do it over again. So what we want to do is use this little stitch marker to secure our chainless starting half double crochet until we work into the top of it. We join into the top of it at the end of the round, and that will make sure that it doesn't come undone while we're working around. Now, if you don't want to use the chainless starting half double crochet, you can just chain 1 and then half double crochet in the same stitch, but I do recommend the chainless starting half double crochet for the best look. So what we're going to do is I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook just a bit till it's about the height of a regular half double crochet. And then what I like to do is close my stitch marker and place it over the loop. So once I put it back on my hook, you can see here's that stretched out loop, but now it has a stitch marker on it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use that stitch marker by putting it up against the back of my hook and putting my index finger on that to keep it still. And that's what we're going to do instead of just using our index finger like we did on the chainless starting double crochet. We're going to use the stitch marker to hold that loop still while we work with it. So we're going to yarn over with the stretched out loop, insert the hook into the same stitch, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 1, 2, and then 3 loops of the stitch. That makes our chainless starting half double crochet. Now I am going to show you real quick what happens when it untwists, and that is what would happen if we did not have a stitch marker in it. It would kind of come around like this and just become a giant chainless starting single crochet, and we don't want that because we are not single crocheting on this round. So now that we have our stitch secured with the stitch marker, we're going to chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch. So we're going to repeat this chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch until we have 1 stitch left before the corner chain space, and that would be right here, because here is our corner chain space. It's a little harder to see because it's smaller with the single crochets, but here's our corner chain space, and we've got 1 stitch left before that. So we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then work half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet, all in that corner chain space. And we're just going to repeat that around. We're going to chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, all the way across to the next corner chain space till there's 1 stitch left before the chain space. And then we will do that chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet into that corner chain space. So we're going to keep doing that around until we get back to this last corner right here. So we're going to continue the chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch across till we have 1 stitch left before the corner, and then we're going to chain 1, skip 1, and then half double crochet, chain 1, half double crochet in the corner. Then we're going to repeat those instructions to this corner and again to this corner, and then I'll show you how we're going to finish the round. Alright, so you can see that I have made it to the corner. There's my little corner chain space in this round. And then to finish out the round, we're going to chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch till we have 1 stitch left in our round. Alright, here we are. So we've got 1 stitch left. I'm going to chain 1, skip that 1 stitch, and then we're going to work the invisible slip stitch in the top of this chainless starting half double crochet. So I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook and let go of it. Insert my hook into the top of that chainless starting half double crochet from back to front. I'm going to leave the stitch marker in there for the moment. Then I'm going to grab that stretched out loop, put it back on the hook, and pull it through the top of that stitch from front to back. Now I can tug on that loop to kind of snug it up and then take out the stitch marker, because now our chainless starting half double crochet is secured because it's been joined into at the beginning of the round or at the end of the round. So we've got one more round left in this set of instructions, and we are going to turn the work, and we're going to work a chainless starting double crochet into this chain space, which is the one right after, once we've turned, it's the one right after the stitch that our loop is coming from. So I'm going to stretch the loop on my hook, put my index finger on the back of it to hold it still, yarn over with the stretched out loop, insert my hook into that chain space, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through two, yarn over, pull through two. There's my chainless starting double crochet. So now I'm going to double crochet in each stitch and each chain space across until I get to the corner chain space. So I'm working in both of the top of the half double crochet and in the chain space, into the top of the half double crochet, into the chain space, and we're going to continue working across each stitch and chain space till we get to that corner chain space. Alright, so I want to make sure that I work into the top of the half double crochet that is right before the chain space, which is right here. Now here's the chain space. I'm going to work 2 double crochet, chain 1, and 2 more double crochet, all into that corner chain space. So we're going to repeat those instructions some more. We're going to double crochet across to this corner and work 2 double crochet, chain 1, 2 double crochet in that corner chain space. Then we're going to double crochet across to this corner, work the same thing in this corner chain space, double crochet across to this corner and do it again in this corner chain space, and then we're going to double crochet across the rest of the stitches of our round. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then we'll join the round. Alright, so I'm back around to the beginning, and my last double crochet was worked into the top of this chainless starting half double crochet from the beginning of the previous round. And now we're just going to work the invisible slip stitch in the top of our chainless starting double crochet from the beginning of our round, and that is the end of round 5. So what we're going to do to continue with our raglan shaping is we're going to continue repeating rounds 3 to 5 several more times depending on which size that you're making. So I'm making the extra small, and that means I'm going to be repeating rounds 3 to 5 3 more times, and then we're going to move on to splitting this into sleeves and a body of the top. So go ahead and repeat rounds 3 to 5 however many times the pattern tells you for the size that you're making. And then we're going to move on to the next step, which is to make the body and the sleeves. And basically to do that, I'm just going to go ahead and remove my hook real quick. To make the body and the sleeves, we're going to take this square and we're going to fold it in half like this. And then we're going to take the stitches from this section and crochet in the round to make the body of our top. And then we're going to take the stitches from each of these sections and crochet in the round to make our sleeves. So I'm going to go ahead and repeat rounds 3 to 5, the correct number of times for the size that I'm making, and then we'll move on to that step. Alright, so here is our square. It doesn't quite fit in the frame of the camera, but you can see that we basically just have a large square with a square hole in the middle. And this is basically the finished yoke right here. So the next step is to separate the body of the sweater from the sleeves. So here's how we're going to do that. This right here, where we've been joining the ends of our rounds, that is the center back. So what we're essentially going to do is take this and fold it down like this. And this is how our T is going to go from now on. We're going to take the stitches along this side of the square and along this side of the square, and those are going to be the body of the sweater. And then the remaining stitches on this side and on this side are going to be the sleeves. So we're going to divide this out in round 6, which I'm going to show you next. So the last round that I worked was round 5, and for round 6 I'm going to turn the work. I'm going to work a chainless starting single crochet in the next stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet in each stitch across to the corner chain space. Alright, so there's my last stitch. Now all that's left is the corner chain space. I'm going to single crochet in the corner chain space. And then we're going to chain 3. So this is kind of like the little underarm gap where we're going to separate the front of the sleeve from the back of the sleeve by just a little bit, and that just makes it more comfortable to wear. So now we're going to skip all of the stitches along the next side of our square, and we're going to single crochet in the next corner chain space. So now you can see we've created an armhole here. So now we're going to do that again. We're going to single crochet all the way across to the next corner chain space. Alright, here's the next corner chain space. I'm going to single crochet in the corner chain space. Then we're going to chain 3 again. And now we're going to skip all the stitches along the next side of our square and come to the next corner chain space. We're going to single crochet in the next corner chain space right there. So now all that's left to do for round 6 is to single crochet to the end of the round. Alright, here's the last stitch of my round, and we're just going to join in the top of that chainless starting single crochet with an invisible slip stitch. So there we go. And now you can see, if I turn this around, you can see how that we have now attached the stitches at the body of the sweater together so that we can go around to make the body of the sweater longer. So we're going to come back and work the sleeves later by coming back and joining and working this section in the round, but right now we're just going to work the rest of the body of the sweater. So for round 7 we need our little stitch marker again, and we are not going to turn the work, but we are going to work a chainless starting half double crochet in the same stitch. So there's my stitch marker for that. And I'm going to go ahead and work that chainless starting half double crochet. There we go. And now for the rest of this round, we're going to chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch. Chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch. And I'm just going to continue doing this all the way around till I get back to the beginning of the round and I have 1 stitch left in my round. But for the moment, I'm just going to go to the armhole right here so I can show you that when we get to the gap between the front and the back of the body stitches, where that we have chained 3 at the underarm, we are also going to work into those chains when we get there. So we are still continuing this chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, and we want to continue that all the way around. So I've made it to the chain gap at the underarm, so I've chained 1, I'm going to skip 1 and work into one of those chain stitches, which is the first one. Chain 1, skip a chain, work into the next chain stitch. Then we're just going to continue with the stitch pattern as normal, working into the tops of the single crochets. So I'm going to continue this little sequence all the way around till I have 1 stitch left in my round. Alright, so I have 1 stitch left in my round before the chainless starting half double crochet, so I'm going to chain 1, skip that stitch, and then invisible slip stitch in the top of that chainless starting half double crochet, like so. Now we can tighten that loop back down, and that is the end of round 7. So now we can remove our stitch marker, and now we're going to move on to round 8. So we're going to turn the work now, and we are going to work a chainless starting double crochet in this first chain space right here. Like so. And now we're just going to work a regular double crochet in each stitch and in each chain space across, or around I should say, around the entire body of the sweater. So basically we're working into all the stitches of round 7. So we're just going to double crochet in the top of each regular stitch and in each chain space around till we get back to the beginning. Alright, so I'm back to the beginning of my round, and I'm going to go ahead and work an invisible slip stitch in the top of that chainless starting double crochet, and that is the end of round 8. Alright, so for round 9 we're going to turn the work, and we are going to work a chainless starting single crochet in the next stitch. And we are just going to single crochet in every stitch all the way around until we get back to the beginning. Alright, so I'm back to the beginning of the round again, and now I'm going to work an invisible slip stitch in the top of that chainless starting single crochet. So that is the end of round 9, and if I kind of lay this out here, of course we do have the back facing up, but this is the beginning of the body of our sweater right here that we just worked. So we're going to continue repeating rounds 7 to 9 until the body of the tee is long enough. Now you can adjust the length by working it more or fewer times, repeating rounds 7 to 9. But according to the pattern, for the length that the pattern is written for the size that I'm making, I'm going to repeat rounds 7 to 9 10 more times. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and then I'll show you what it looks like. Alright, so here is my tee at this point. I have already finished repeating those rounds as many times as the pattern says for my size. Here is the loop that was on my hook. I've just gone ahead and taken the hook out of it for the moment. And what's facing up right now is the back. But the front of the tee looks basically identical, except for the fact that I do have a few yarn tails to weave in where I changed skeins. And the back has a very faint seam line from where we joined the rounds. And this is why we're using that invisible join method, is because it just leaves a much less obvious seam line compared to if we used a starting chain and then a slip stitch at the end. So this invisible join method makes the line more hidden and less conspicuous, and that is why I like to use that so much in basically any project that I do in the round. So the next step for this tee is to go ahead and tie off, because we're finished with the body. So I'm going to leave a tail, cut the yarn, and then just tie off by pulling the yarn tail through the loop that was on the hook. And with that invisible join method, not only does it make the seam line less visible, but when you get to the bottom, there's no knot on the edge, because when you tie off, it makes the knot kind of sit just behind the edge of the work. So it's also less conspicuous there as well. So obviously I do need to weave in the remaining tails, but for the moment I'm going to show you real quick how to do the sleeves. We're going to kind of add some length to the sleeves to make it more of like a short sleeve top. Alright, so here is our sleeve. If we look at our tee spread out flat again, these are the armholes right here. We're going to take one of these armholes and kind of bring it to face us, like so. And if you look at the shape of this armhole, we have a little flat area down here where we chained on the body of the tee, and then we have this big opening here. So what we're going to do is, since we had 3 chain stitches at the underarm here, we're going to join in the center chain stitch. And what we're going to be doing is we are looking at, right now, this last row of the sleeve or armhole edge at the moment is a double crochet row. And we always have the single crochet rows going the opposite direction of the double crochet rows. So this is the wrong side of the double crochet row that is currently facing us. So since that is facing out, we are going to join in this center chain stitch, and we are going to work with the right side of the single crochet round going this way. And we're just going to work around in a clockwise direction with this first round of our sleeve. Now, if you are a lefty, then you will be going the other way, because left-handed crocheters do everything in the opposite direction. So for us right-handed crocheters, we're going to work clockwise, but if you're a lefty, you're going to be going counterclockwise. All right, so I have my yarn joined in that center chain stitch. I'm going to go ahead and crochet over my yarn tail, so I'm going to bring it over this way. And I'm going to work a chainless starting single crochet into that same chain stitch. Then I'm going to single crochet in the next chain stitch, which has a stitch in the other side of it, right here. And then I'm going to single crochet in the corner chain space of the yoke. So right here where there's a gap, that's my corner chain space. I'm going to single crochet in that too. So I have worked 3 stitches so far. And now we're going to be working along the edge of the armhole here. And I'm just going to single crochet in each stitch around the sleeve edge here until I get to the other corner chain space from the original yoke. Alright, so I'm back around to almost the beginning. I have worked in all of the regular stitches around the armhole edge. Now all I have left is this chain space. So I'm going to single crochet into the chain space. And then if we come over here, here's the first single crochet of my round, my chainless starting single crochet. But right before that, there is another chain stitch. So now I'm going to work into the other side of that chain stitch. And then I'm going to go ahead and invisible slip stitch in the top of that starting single crochet. So that is the end of round 1 of the sleeve. So now we're going to continue just working in straight rounds to make the sleeve longer. So for round 2, we need our handy little stitch marker again, because we're going to be working the chainless starting half double crochet. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch the loop on my hook a bit and put the stitch marker over that loop and hold it to the back with my index finger. And now I'm going to work a chainless starting half double crochet in the same stitch. There we go. Now I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, chain 1, skip 1, half double crochet in the next stitch, and I'm going to keep doing that all the way around until I have 1 stitch left in my row, or in my round. Alright, so I am down to the last stitch of my round, so I'm going to chain 1, skip 1, and then invisible slip stitch in the top of the chainless starting half double crochet. And now I can go ahead and remove that stitch marker. So now we can move on to round 4, and for round 4 we're going to turn, and we're going to work a chainless starting double crochet into that same chain space. And then we're just going to double crochet in each stitch and in each chain space all the way around. Alright, so I'm all the way back to the beginning of the round, and now I can just work that invisible slip stitch into the top of the chainless starting double crochet. So that's the end of round 3. Now we're going to turn and work round 4. And for round 4, we're just going to work a chainless starting single crochet in the next stitch and single crochet in each stitch around till we get back to the beginning. Alright, so I'm back around to the beginning again, and now we can work the invisible slip stitch to join, and that's the end of round 4. So what we're going to do to finish the sleeve, we can kind of see that our sleeve is beginning to extend a little further from the yoke. Now what we're going to do is repeat rounds 2 to 4 one more time, and then our sleeve will be finished. Alright, so I've finished this sleeve and I've added that length to this first sleeve. So the next step is to take these instructions that we just did on this sleeve and repeat them on this armhole to extend that sleeve a little further. So I'm going to go ahead and tie off right here on this sleeve. And now that this sleeve is finished, I can come over here and work the second sleeve. So I'm going to go ahead and do that second sleeve and weave in all my ends, and then we'll talk about how we can block our tee. Alright, so now I have finished both sleeves on my tee, and I've woven in all of my yarn tails. So now the final step for this project is to block it. Now, I do have an entire video on blocking on my channel if you want to go check that out if you're not familiar with different ways that you can block your projects and why blocking is important. But I highly recommend that you block your finished items, and the type of blocking method that you use really depends on what kind of fiber your yarn is made from. So this yarn is 100% acrylic, so I'm going to steam block my tee. And to do that, I'm just going to take a steaming iron or a garment steamer and just kind of hover it over the surface of the fabric all over both front and back. And blocking just really helps to relax the fabric a bit, and it makes it hang and drape nicer. So it just really helps the fabric look and feel its best, so that when you wear it, it has the best drape and it lays nicely on the body. So I'm going to go ahead and steam block my tee, and then my tee will be finished. So I hope you've enjoyed this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up. If you make this project, let me know how it turns out for you in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, making sure you click the little bell next to the subscribe button to be notified of new videos. Thanks for watching.